Hey guys, welcome to Comics Pull List, the show where we discuss some of the biggest comics to come out in the last month. I know it's been a while, but we're back in full force with a couple of great number ones for people to jump onto. This week we'll be reviewing Avengers number 1 and the long-awaited Justice League number 1, as well as Man of Steel number 1. Let's not waste any time and get right into the books. Kicking off this episode, we have Avengers number 1 by Jason Aaron and Ed McGuinness. As someone who's not really an avid Avengers reader, I decided to hop on as a fan of the creative team. Jason Aaron has had a monumental run on Thor for the last few years, while McGuinness' past work at DC has always been top-notch. Avengers number 1 starts off with allusions to the Marvel Legacy one-shot. If you didn't read it, don't worry, neither did I. All you really need to know is that a million years before the current day, the predecessors of the current Avengers also formed a team to stop a colossal threat. We get to see Odin, the Phoenix, Agamotto, and a few early renditions of Marvel characters. The narrative of issue 1 shifts between the BC Avengers and current-day Cap, Thor, and Iron Man, post-Secret Empire, death of Jane Foster, and comatose Tony Stark. At this point in Marvel continuity, the Avengers have been disassembled. See what I did there? No? Okay, moving on. The modern trinity of the Marvel Universe discusses the ethics of reforming the team. While Steve thinks it's as good as a time as any to restart the team with the three of them at the helm, Tony insists that it's their time to move on, that things have changed, and to let the new legacy of heroes develop on their own. The last few years of Marvel's continuity have kinda thrown all three characters into a blender, causing Tony to become disenfranchised with the idea of the three of them ever leading a team again. On the other hand, after the ongoings of Hydra Cap, Steve feels that it's his responsibility to step up, arguing that what's old can be new again. Then everything changes when Thor puts his beer down. He sets the record straight that not only does the world need the three of them at the head of the Avengers, they need each other in order to be the best versions of themselves. As Tony's satellites warn him of an incoming threat, the narrative shifts to Black Panther and Doctor Strange investigating underground tunnels beneath South Africa. The pair discover the corpse of a Paleolithic archaeologist, emitting large amounts of cosmic radiation nearby some cave drawings. Doctor Strange soon detects traces of magic from his predecessor, Agamotto. He advocates that they need to call the Avengers in on this one. However, T'Challa thinks otherwise and declares that there were none. Next, we transition to space with Captain Marvel racing towards what seems to be a warp hole. As she closes distance, a responder from the Alpha Flight headquarters warns her that the energy levels emitted are off the charts. As Carol hurtles towards the warp hole, Tony, along with Steve and Thor, attempt to disrupt the energy abnormalities. Back on Earth, we find the modern-day Ghost Rider, Robbie Reyes, in personal turmoil. He refuses to sleep for fear that the spirit of vengeance will re-emerge of its own accord and take action as he pleases. But none of it really matters, because crazy cosmic spiders erupt from the ground, causing him to transform into the Ghost Rider. We soon learn that the hand emerging from the warp hole was a massive dead celestial being that's plummeted down to Earth. Hundreds of dead celestial bodies have surfaced all over the world. And on top of that, we discover the threat that we've been led to believe has slaughtered every single one of them. As we approach the end of the book, in the most superhero fashion, we see the Avengers suit up and reform as Captain America yells out a familiar phrase. As someone with fairly little experience reading the Avengers titles, I found this issue really easy to get through. The shift in time actually helps me to understand the gravity of the situation facing the Earth's mightiest heroes. Jason Aaron does a good job transitioning narrative between the fractioned-off Avengers, capturing their individual voices and quirks. Ed McGuinness' art is nothing less than solid, drawing up a real bona fide superhero comic from cover to cover. Overall, I really enjoyed this issue and will definitely keep reading to see what's in store. Since we were able to hop on to this new Avengers run, I'd highly suggest that everyone check out issue 1 and read along with me for issue 2 and the books to follow. I think I'd give this book a well-deserved 8 out of 10. Jason Aaron does well in not getting caught up in over or underwriting characters, and allows the plot to move forward nicely. Here's to an issue 2. You can pick it up digitally through Comixology or at your local comic book shop. Next up, we have the long-awaited Justice League number 1 by superstar writer Scott Snyder and artist Jim Cheung. The beginning to Snyder's Justice League comes directly from the blockbuster event Dark Knight's Metal, and the follow-up, Justice League No Justice. In short, after having to puncture their source wall in order to defeat the big bad in Metal, the Justice League has opened the multiverse up to a vast ocean of unknown. In No Justice, the results of metal have let loose this group of Celestials called the Omega Titans, whose aim is to balance the universe by consuming certain planets that exert particular forms of life energy over others. By extreme means, the Justice League finds a way to end the threat, resulting in the formation of the Justice League, as well as the Justice League Dark and Justice League Odyssey teams. As expected, all things come to an end, and we learn that Lex Luthor has chosen to take up the role of villain once more. However, his motives are entirely different. Issue 1 picks up with the newly formed Justice League resembling the classic animated series team. A potentially sentient form of pure, ancient energy from beyond the Source Wall hurtles towards Earth. With the guidance of the recently named chairman, Martian Manhunter, the team convenes to discuss the course of action on how to handle the totality. I don't want to spoil the book too much, but it's just about everything you could ask for in a first issue. Unlike recent runs in Justice League's history, the League written by Snyder is preemptive and diplomatic. It's obvious that not one of them could stop this potentially extinction-level threat. But together, they have a chance. Partway through the book, we also get a peek at what Lex Luthor has been up to since No Justice. And this next part has been all over the internet for months, so I don't think we can call it a spoiler. But we get a look at the brand new Legion of Doom, expertly drawn by artist Jim Chung. Throughout this issue, we're given insight to Martian Manhunter's doubts in his ability to succeed in his new role on the team. I see this as being a persisting plot thread in Snyder's run, and I think it'll play out in great ways for the story to come. Manhunter also takes a vocal standpoint in the League, advocating that their connection between one another is what keeps them strong. Snyder uses issue 1 to push forward the ideals of the League, as well as introducing us to the threats and obstacles before them. The threats introduced in this book are not only relevant to Earth, but also on a massive scale larger than even the multiverse itself. Secrets beyond even the new gods have been unlocked, forcing the League into combating the desolate unknown. The artwork in this issue is brought to us by grade A talent Jim Chung on what I believe to be his first work at DC. Chung's artwork encapsulates the epic and grandiose feel that is set forth by the script, and makes me stop and admire every single panel. For me, issue 1 of Scott Snyder's Justice League does everything it needs to do. We get the world's greatest heroes doing what heroes do best, the world's most terrifying villains, and a threat larger than life itself. Not to mention a brand new direction to move forward with. I give a lot of credit to the story being developed by Snyder. Imagine how difficult it would be to do something new with something that's been around for 70 years. Snyder is one of my favorite writers in comics today, and his first issue makes me even more excited to see what he has planned for the DC Universe. I'd give this issue an easy 9 out of 10. Go pick up this book. It left me thinking, feeling, and wanting more, and I can't wait for issue 2. If you want to catch up so that you know everything you could possibly need to know, I'd suggest picking up the new collected works of Dark Knight's Metal, and the 4 issues of No Justice. Otherwise, I think that as long as you know what happened at the end of Metal, you should be well versed enough to pick up issue 1. The final book featured on the episode is the long-awaited arrival of legendary Marvel scribe Brian Michael Bendis on Superman. Leading up to the Man of Steel, Bendis wrote 2 small Superman featurettes in both Action Comics 1000 and DC Nation Zero. Admittedly, I wasn't very impressed by those 2 works alone. I wanted to give Bendis another chance, so I decided to pick up issue 1, and I'm not disappointed. From the get-go, Man of Steel issue 1 avoids some easy tropes for Superman writers to fall into. With the brute, menacing villain he'd introduced in his Action Comics debut, it would be easy for Bendis to make the book a knockdown, drag-em-out fight between the Man of Steel and Rogol Zar. Instead, we're taken to the past and learn of a council of immortals that judge the universe from above, refusing Rogol Zar's request to destroy Krypton. He sees the scientifically advanced civilization as a plague upon the universe, leaving other planets deprived of resources in order to fulfill their own goals. We then pick up in the present with a stunning spread of Superman apprehending 2 C-list villains by artist Ivan Reis. The conversation between Superman and the apprehended Gotham natives exhibits Bendis' understanding of the Man of Steel down to the most basic levels. The dialogue is lighthearted, funny, and hopeful, as it should be. As a reader, the book really brings me in with Superman's internal monologue, giving us a clear idea of what he deals like on a regular basis. For example, early on in issue 1, the book focuses on Superman's ability to hear almost anything. We're shown that he hears everything in the city, from people singing songs to screams of horror, with incredibly descriptive detail. Hats off to Bendis. That may have been one of my favorite scenes in the entire book. In A String of Arson, Bendis plays on his strengths in providing the reader with more of Superman's internal monologue, as he attempts to save civilians trapped within a burning building. For a man with his abilities, it's not so easy as ripping through the building, however. He must use his wits along with his extraordinary skills to save the day and prevent the building from the inevitable collapse. It's very clear that this is another return to form for Superman, as he utilizes the experience he's garnered over the years to get the job done. The distinct visuals by Ivan Reis, accompanied by Bendis' expressive description, really captured me as a reader and kept me interested the whole way through. We're introduced to a new character in Fire Chief Melody Moore. See, you know he gets the whole Superman thing. You know, because alliteration. Anyway, moving forward, we catch up with mild-mannered Clark Kent at the Daily Planet and what we're led to believe is a normal day at the office. However, as Clark gazes over at a photo of his wife and son, we realize that something is up with Lois and John. We flash back to a moment of what seems to be the recent past. We're set in the Kent's apartment with Clark and John, and a change in art by current master penciler Jason Faber. As John and Clark stroll over to the kitchen of their apartment, we're introduced to Lois Lane for the first time in the story. Amidst a conversation about Lois's next hard-hitting story, a white light envelops the page as our hero and his family display looks of fear, ending the issue. Bendis' first full attempt at writing Superman was a strong success for me. The personality and ideals of the character were encapsulated throughout the book. Also, let's not forget the incredible visuals by artist Ivan Reis and Jason Fabok. I give Men of Steel an 8.5 out of 10. I'm definitely excited to move forward in the series and can honestly say that anyone can pick it up and read it. If you want all of the auxiliary info going into the book, I'd suggest maybe picking up Action Comics 1000 for Bendis' featurette. Regardless, if you're a Superman fan, the entire book is great, so do yourself a favor and go pick it up at your local comic shop or digitally on Comixology. Alright guys, that's it for today's episode of Comics Pull List. I hope you all enjoyed it and thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought of the book showcased in this episode. Feel free to subscribe, leave a like, comment, and share the video to help us grow. If you have any suggestions for episodes or just to improve the channel, leave it down in the comments for me. Otherwise, let's just chat comics and all things geek. Catch you guys in the next episode from Dark Knight Nation.